The Snail with the Right Heart, a True Story. Long ago, before half the stars that speckle the sky were born, and before the mountains rose reaching for them, a giant ocean covered the earth. One day, something strange happened in the giant ocean, a change so mysterious and magnificent that it was given a special name: mutation. From this mutation, life was born from non-life, and the first living creatures, tinier than a grain of sand, tinier than the tip of the eyelash of a mouse, came into being. Time tended to them kindly. They grew bigger and bigger, curiouser and curiouser. Soon, which in cosmic time means millions and millions of years, they crawled out of the ocean and onto the land. Not knowing whether they would find a home there, some of these brave early explorers carried their homes on their backs, and so snails took to the earth. Soon, more millions and millions of years later, humans were walking the earth alongside them. One autumn day, a cosmic blink ago, a human, a retired scientist from London's Natural History Museum, stopped mid-stride on his walk when he noticed a most unusual garden snail in a pile of compost. It was smaller than the other snails. Its shell was darker than theirs. One of its tentacles had trouble unspooling. And because the snail's tentacles are both its fingers and its eyes, this little snail didn't feel and see the world the way most snails do. But the strangest thing was something else still. Its shell spiraled not like the shells of common snails, but in the opposite direction. It spiraled left instead of right, the same direction the earth crawls around the sun. The old man picked up the little snail tenderly and marveled at it. It just so happened, isn't chance lovely, that a few days earlier he had heard an interview on the radio with a snail researcher named Dr. Angus Davidson. So he decided to send this unusual little snail to Dr. Angus's laboratory. Maybe its strangeness held some beautiful secret waiting to be unlocked. Carefully, the elderly scientist packed the little snail into a cozy box and sent it on its way. When it arrived at the famous snail laboratory, Dr. Angus named it Jeremy, after the British politician Jeremy Corbyn. Grown-ups believe that this big round world has sides, so they divide their politics into left and right, like shoes or gloves. Because Jeremy Corbyn belongs to the left, Dr. Angus thought it would be funny to name the little lefty snail after him. But although Jeremy the snail was given a boy name, Jeremy the snail was neither a he nor a she. Jeremy, like all land snails, was both. Jeremy was a they. One of the wonders of snails is that they can make babies without a mate, because every snail has a body that is both male and female. Such a wondrous body is called a hermaphrodite. If a hermaphrodite makes babies alone, they are almost exactly like their parent. But when two parents make a baby together, the baby is partly like each of them. And because diversity is always lovelier than sameness, and because it makes communities stronger and better able to adapt to change, snails prefer to make babies in pairs. This is how it happens. When a snail finds a partner, the two face each other, gently touching tentacles to see if they like each other, and if they do, they glide their bodies alongside one another in a slow double embrace, until their baby-making parts fit together like puzzle pieces. Then, they gently pierce each other with tiny spears called love darts, which contain their genes, the building blocks of bodies. Genes are like tiny seeds your parents plant in the garden that becomes your body. Your special combination of seeds is what makes your body garden unlike anybody else's, and what makes you, you. Genes are how life talks to the future. Your genes decide things like how tall you grow, what color your eyes are, and how your thumbs are shaped. Many of your gene seeds come abloom in your own body garden. You get to be the flowers they become. But not every one of your seeds will bloom. Some only sprout when they are near other seeds just like them. These shy seeds may lay dormant in the soil and only bloom in generations of gardens down the line, in your children, or your children's children, or your children's children's children. These seeds are called recessive genes. Jeremy was so unusual because in their body a rare recessive gene came abloom. One of Jeremy's great-great-grandparents must have passed this dormant seed on until it awakened to make Jeremy's shell coil in the opposite direction. Jeremy's shell was just the most obvious expression of the mutation, but the entire soft body hidden inside was also a mirror image of almost every other snail's body, a condition known as situs inversus, Latin for inverted internal organs. In his 20 years of working with snails, Dr. Angus had never before seen a lefty. He believes that situs inversus is rarer than 1 in 10,000, probably 1 in 100,000, possibly even 1 in a million. Some humans too have such wondrous mirror image bodies. It is just as rare in us as it is in snails. If you had situs inversus, your heart would be on the right side, which is the wrong side, because almost everyone's heart is on the left side. Jeremy's heart was also on the wrong side, as were all of his other vital body parts, which meant that Jeremy could only do the double embrace dance with another snail who had situs inversus, or else the puzzle pieces wouldn't fit together to make baby snails. Life can be lonesome when your mate is 1 in a million, and Dr. Angus didn't want Jeremy to be lonesome. He also knew that if Jeremy had babies with another lefty snail, scientists could study this very rare gene and better understand situs inversus, not only in snails, but also in humans. So he went on the radio again and made an appeal to the whole world to help find Jeremy a lefty mate. Moved by Jeremy's story, people far and wide got on their knees amid gardens and grasslands and compost piles, determined to find Jeremy's inverted puzzle piece. Within weeks, not 1, but 2 potential mates were found, one by a young Englishwoman who kept snails as pets, and another by a snail farmer in Spain. The whole round world rejoiced when Lefty, the English snail, and Tomu, the Spanish snail, were sent to Dr. Angus's lab to meet Jeremy. But the right heart is as hard to find as it is unpredictable. Lefty and Tomu puzzle-pieced with each other instead, making babies together. Jeremy was left alone. Months passed. Lefty and Tomu's babies loved climbing on Jeremy's shell to play. Maybe Jeremy could discover a different gladness in being an aunt-uncle. And then, one day, Tomu left Lefty to mate with Jeremy. Left or right, the heart wants what the heart wants. But before the world could celebrate the long-awaited end to Jeremy's lonesomeness, Jeremy died of old age. They had lived a long life for a snail, but they never got to meet their children, the 56 snails Tomu delivered. And Dr. Angus didn't get to study situs inversus in this next generation, because none of the babies had left spiraling shells. The recessive gene that caused the mutation had once again become a dormant seed in the garden of life. But somewhere, in some future garden, it will bloom again. Somewhere down the 56 lines that begin with Jeremy and Tomu's babies, maybe 1 or 10 or 100 generations down the line, maybe when some of the stars that speckle the sky are gone and new stars are born, there will be a mini Jeremy, a strange and lovely little snail with a left coiling shell and a right heart.